Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sports Shorts Daily, presented by LeBears Casino. Tommy Krysan right here on this Monday morning edition. We're going to call it Black Monday already. I mean, we're halfway through the NFL season, and we've already had a couple coaches fired. Dennis Allen is fired. Tommy Krysan is going to tell us all about it over there at Court Street Cafe in downtown Port Allen. We're, of course, 5 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge, and I'm in an undisclosed location presented by the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Go to lasportshall.com if you're a golfer out there. Got a great golf tournament coming up November 17th, 18th in Baton Rouge. The party on the 17th at LeBears at the ESPN Bets Sportsbook. The 18th U Club, 10 a.m. celebrity golf tournament. A lot of great guests, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Awesome food, drink, prizes galore. It's going to be, check it all out at lasportshall.com. We hope to see you there. And, of course, we're presented by LeBears, where, this weekend's going to be rocking and rolling. Better Than Ezra Friday night in concert outside on the lawn. 8th and then the 9th is LSU, Alabama, and there'll be all kind of people there all day, all night at the sports book, at Edge, after the game, etc. All right, TK, we kind of been, we knew this day was going to come. I mean, this is the worst kept secret ever that Dennis Allen was going to be fired. It's just a question of when he was going to be fired. Saints lose 7 games in a row now after they dropped to the worst team in the league, the Carolina Panthers, yesterday over in Carolina. They're now 2-7. Unfortunately, it's about 7 teams are 2-7. Right now they would be the second pick behind the Giants, who are also 2-7. But there's about 7 teams in the league that are all with that same terrible record. And quite frankly, I'm disappointed that the Saints fired Dennis Allen because I wanted to keep him. I want this thing to just continue to implode. I want them to be 2-15 so that they can ensure themselves the first pick in the draft and have options whether to keep it, trade it, whatever. Instead, they're going to go Darren Rizzi, the special teams coach, is going to take over as the interim. Who knows? He might bring some juice. He might bring some life, and they win 4 games and they get the 3rd pick in the draft or something like that. But anyway, not really surprised here. This had to happen.
Yeah, it really did. It was just a matter of when. And Mickey Loomis a couple of weeks ago said it's about more than wins and losses. There are variables here. Not just counting the massive amount of injuries, but, Loomis kept trying to take up for his guy, okay? And then finally, after the 7, losses in a row, losing to Carolina, it just, that stat about the rushing yards and the turnover battle and the NFL teams were 275-0 with that formula going until yesterday. It just was just too much. And finally they thought about the fans. The fans knew this was going to happen. They wanted it to happen. It's never a good time to fire anybody. But Ronnie, the thing I was thinking about last night was if you go back to the beginning of the season, they beat Carolina handily. We all thought that would happen. Most people in America thought that would happen. Surprised everybody with what they did to the Cowboys in Dallas. But as it turns out, Carolina was the bad team we thought they were, and Dallas was not near the team we thought they were when the Saints blew them out in Dallas that day. So this is just a bad team. And yes, there's been injuries, but all NFL teams have injuries. There's not a team in the league that hasn't lost a key player or 2 or 3. Maybe, obviously, some teams lose more than others. So now what do you do next? You got an interim coach, Rizzi, Darren Rizzi, the special teams guy, is supposed to be the interim coach. You got Kubiak will call the plays. They'll get somebody to call the defense. And then, they begin the search. And then the question is, does Mickey Loomis survive? And, does he step down at the end of the year? Or has he and Miss Benson talked and said, hey, I'm going to go get us a coach, whoever that might be, and we try to rebuild this thing from scratch. If the draft was this morning, Saints would have the 3rd pick. There's a bunch of teams at 2-7, like you said, but it goes into a strength of schedule thing that separates those tied teams. And if the draft was this morning, they would have the 3rd pick. Now, that can change a lot between now. You still got 8 football games left to play for the Saints, so including the Falcons this Sunday in the Dome. So, it's just a bad thing because it involves a lot of assistant coaches, a lot of staff members that are also going to lose their job. But it's the business end of things, and the Saints couldn't continue with Dennis Allen as coach.
By the way, the stat you were referring to, for those that have not seen it, is that the New Orleans Saints became the first team to gain its opponent by over 150 yards, to also rush for 150 plus yards in a game and have more turnovers. I mean, less turnovers than its opponent. Those three things combined, when someone has done that, outgained their opponent by 150 yards, rush for at least 150 yards, and have fewer turnovers than their opponent, we're 275-0 in the history of the NFL. And now they're 275-1 because the Saints did all those three things yesterday against Carolina and still lost a game. By the way, back-to-back weeks with a crazy stat like that. The Jets pulled that same sort of stunt a week ago where they became the first team ever to score over 20 points and do some other analytics, not have any turnovers and something else. I forget what it was. And they became, 275-1. Good things happen bad things happen to bad teams, basically, is what all those stats tell you. Getting back to Dennis Allen, the crazy thing is, if you think back to Mickey Loomis this offseason, the Saints were coming off of a 9-8 season, didn't make the playoffs, and Mickey Loomis referenced referenced other Hall of Fame coaches and how they have started their careers off slow starts. Whew, couldn't have been more wrong on that one, Mick. Sometimes, and we've said this a lot on this show and Sports Church Radio and other shows throughout decades. Sometimes you just wear out your welcome. Bill Belichick basically got fired from the New England Patriots, the greatest coach of all time, who had a 20-year run that's unprecedented. And at the end, it was time to go. It didn't work out. That's where we're at with this New Orleans Saints front office, like it or not. And I know Mickey Loomis personally. I've played golf with him. I like the guy. But at some point, like, it's over. It's time. Like, what we've done over the last 25 years has run its course, and it ain't working anymore. And you need some new fresh blood and some new ideas and some new voices in that building. And either Gail Benson has to decide if she wants to stick around to do the dirty work or sell the franchise. You know what I mean? Like, she's such a nice person. I'm sure she's got personal relationships. She's a big-time Christian Catholic woman. She comes in every day and she's in the office and she writes 25 personal letters, and it gives her purpose also, right? To own the team. It gives her a place to go. It gives her a reason, whether it be Pelicans or Saints, something to, believe in. So does she want to be the person that fires? We're talking about, there's going to be 20 plus people that are going to be fired this year, just coaches and staff alone. And then you talk about front office personnel that have been the core of that organization. Probably you need to change. Does she have the intestinal fortitude to do that, knowing that that's probably what this organization needs, is a reboot? Or is it just too much for her to bear and she needs to sell the team to someone who will? That's going to be the most interesting part to me over the next couple of months.
I agree. That's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds. How does that go forward? Does she put everything into Mickey Loomis? And you're right. The window closes on everything. Okay. The 49ers had their dynasty run. The Cowboys won a couple of Super Bowls. Everything comes to an end, the Raiders used to be, and we go back through time in the NFL where you have that run of really, really excelling, and then it gets out of whack. It closes. And the Saints, the Super Bowl 16 years ago, they can't hang their hat on that anymore. And, you have to move forward, and it needs a total rebuild. I'm like you. I think Mickey Loomis is a good guy. He's been a salary cap wizard for the most part for a long time. But, has that credit card been maxed out and is payment due now? So I would think, but I don't know, who does Gail Benson turn to say, okay, what do I do here? How do I go get it? She doesn't know anything about being a GM. Does she pay somebody to consult her to say, this is the path you should take? Names already flying around: John Gruden, Bill Belichick, Ed Orgeron, Ben Johnson of the Detroit Lions. There's stuff everywhere, okay? And, you got to ignore that now. There's lots of other things that have to happen before you could even think about who might be the next coach. And it starts with Mickey Loomis, the guy you referenced. Is he still going to be the GM or not? That's the next question that has to be answered.
The whole John Gruden conversation, right or wrong, I think he's just too toxic in this day and age. I don't know how a sports franchise where 80% of their football team is African American, how you can risk the John Gruden hire based off of the previous emails and things like that from many moons ago that got him basically excommunicated out of TV and out of being a coach in the NFL. I just think he's too toxic. Bill Belichick, does he have it in him to rebuild a franchise at his age? I mean, because this isn't going to be a quick fix. You're going to most likely have to draft a franchise quarterback with what should be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. And like I said, this team is with a salary cap situation the way it is, with the roster the way it is, aging at some of the better positions. Like, this isn't a team that, we get an Aaron Rodgers and we plug and play and we can be a Super Bowl contender. And I don't think Bill Belichick at this point, probably after stepping away from coaching, enjoying not coaching, enjoying TV and all the things he's doing, does he want to put himself in a situation where probably realistically this is a 3-year fix before the Saints are, even under one of the greatest coaches ever, where maybe they could get back right. So I don't see that out. I think they got to go in a completely different, direction, much like the Rams did years ago when they got McVay, and they were awful in that franchise. And then all of a sudden they went in the right direction and they drafted Jared Goff. They took their lumps. They had a great coach, young coach, and they rode that wave. And next thing you know, they're in the Super Bowl, So I think I would will for the Saints to go that way. This is not going to, like I said, dig in. Oh. They're going to lose a lot more games before they win them over the next year and a half.
Well, see, I don't know if Gail Benson, with all due respect, can figure out that path, to go get a young guy who's up and coming, who's been in the front office at one of the other NFL teams as a assistant general manager and has worked with the salary cap and has constructed trade deals. But I'm not trying to be funny, but does she know who those type of people are, or who might have a list of those guys somewhere where you could start talking to them and see what's going on? I don't know that she's been that connected to the NFL, since she became the owner with the passing of Tom Benson. Tom Benson would have been connected. He was on committee after committee, and he was well thought of by the other owners in the league office. So the Saints are, I think Jeff Duncan said it best, or one of the writers said rock bottom. You were near rock bottom, okay, for the last couple of weeks. You were near rock bottom. It hit yesterday with the loss to the Panthers. They're at rock bottoms. Now, the only way to go is go up, but who's going to determine that path? And it doesn't have to be figured out today or tomorrow, but it's got to be figured out relatively quickly, because you're going to want to have a coach in place come January for sure, and a general manager, whether that's Mickey Loomis or not.
Well, Tommy, it's interesting. 7 losses in a row now for the Saints. First time since 1999. That was the year my daughter was born. She's 25 years old, and it's just incredible how things have turned. And that was before they ever made the playoffs for the very first time. Won a playoff game for the very first time when in 2000. That's before Katrina. That's before Drew Brees came to say. That's how long ago it was that the Saints were this bad. College football, some big doings over the weekend. Texas A&M. We thought the line looked a little weird, only a 3-point favorite. A&M looked really good. They went over and got destroyed by South Carolina. I don't know if this is more of Texas A&M's overrated or South Carolina is underrated. I think it's probably a little bit of both. South Carolina was this close to beating Alabama, this close to should have beat LSU. They didn't. Finally, they got their marquee win, and they did it in dominant fashion at home. And then A&M, lost to I don't think a very potent Notre Dame team at home. And then, was like halftime. Sudden, they have their life against the Tigers.
Yeah, we kind of looked at that as being a little funny game, but A&M, with all the accolades that came after beating LSU, they didn't follow it up. We've talked about that many times over the years. When you have that big win, signature win, or whatever it might be, can you follow it up? What do you follow it up with? That's very, very important. And for A&M, it didn't work.
Now, I'll tell you, the way that this college football season is going, it is going to make for a super interesting December and January. I mean, I truly believe, I'm not just giving it hyperbole. Like, if you are one of the top 12 teams or top 11, probably the power 4-5 team that gets in there, the extra one that gets thrown in there, that's not going to make a difference. But if you're one of the top 11 teams, you have just as good a chance as any. There's not one dominant, obvious number one. Like, even Oregon, right? Like, is anybody like scared to go play Oregon over there? Like, it's not like Alabama in Tuscaloosa under Nick Saban. Like, you got zero shot. Like Oregon, yeah, Oregon, and yeah, okay, come on, bring it on. So it's going to be a fun postseason because it's anyone's game. Just got to get in the tournament.
Well, and you know what, Ryan? Tomorrow they come out with the first CFP rankings. Okay, there's a lot going on tomorrow. The NFL trade deadline, CFP rankings, and of course they got some elections going on nationwide and some important elections in Louisiana. So it's kind of a big day tomorrow. And that college football playoff thing may get lost in the shuffle. They maybe should have waited a week, but to do that, I don't know. But you're right. When they get to them 12, you're going to make a strong case that 9 or 10 or 11 have a shot to win it. If they can play, it's going to kind of be like college baseball. You can play your best football at the right time. Like LSU baseball and other SEC baseball teams. If you can play your baseball in May and June, you got a shot to win it all. College football, it's going to be, can you play at the right time, whether you got a home game or a road game, because there's going to be a little bit of that in the early part of the playoffs. I think it's just going to be as wild and crazy as the first, 7, 8, 9 weeks of the season that we've seen.
By the way, Vanderbilt bowl eligible for the first time since 2018, I believe it was. They went and took care of business on the road at Auburn. Vanderbilt and Colorado are two great stories this year in college football. Both teams that were not expected to be bowl eligible. Half the country's cheering for, hoping that Deion Sanders fails. He's got them bowl eligible. Vanderbilt, nobody saw that coming. And all of a sudden, wow, they beat Alabama at home, and they're winning games, and they beat Missouri on the road when they were ranked. It's kind of a great. There's so many great stories.
Well, maybe the story of the year is Indiana football. Ronnie, they were picked 17th in the Big Ten. There's 18 teams in the league. Their preseason media poll had them 17th in the Big Ten. 17th. And now they're 7th or 8th in the nation, much less, and there's some ways to go there. But, there's a lot of stories like that, whether it's Colorado, whether the demise of Florida State. I saw a funny meme the other day, Ronnie. Florida State fans said they're the best 8-loss team in the country. Okay. I thought that was pretty funny when I read that. But it's been bizarre, and there's no reason to think it's not going to keep getting wild and crazy, especially into that playoff.
All right, so the AP came out. Let's see. Okay, this is a CBS Sports poll that came out. Their rankings that just came out this morning. Oregon number 1, Ohio State number 2, Georgia number 3, Miami number 4, Indiana number 5, Texas 6, Penn State 7, BYU 8, Notre Dame 9, and Tennessee 10. So 3 SEC teams in the top 10. Then you go SMU, Boise State, Alabama, Iowa State, Texas A&M, and then LSU is 16. So another 3 teams in the next 6 spots. Ole Miss 17, Army 18, Pittsburgh 19, and Kansas State is 20. Tulane not in the top 25. I was looking to see if maybe they might get some love.
Randy, right.
Raging Cajuns.
Well, that rolls us to this Saturday. It's an elimination game. The loser of LSU Alabama is not going to be in the 12-team playoff. The winner still going to be in the conversation.
100%. If you're LSU, you have to win the remaining 4 games. Alabama on the road at Florida, home against Vanderbilt, and at home against Oklahoma. You're going to be favored, provided you beat Alabama. You're going to be favored pretty considerably against those 3 teams. Florida, by the way, had a halftime lead on Georgia, and Georgia came back, stormed back in the second half, and won by 14. Covered the 13.5 if you got it then. most of you pushed and some of you lost because it was a 14.5-point line by kickoff. But Florida scares me. I mean, they got nothing to lose. They're at home. They're just good enough to play you tough and upset you if you go in there half stepping, especially the week after Alabama, if LSU's able to win. But hey, it's gonna be fun for the fans but if LSU loses to Alabama, then the last 3 games are, do you want to play the Blue Bonnet Bowl or the Independence Bowl? Hey, put them in the New Orleans Bowl. Let them match up with the Raging Cajuns, something like that,
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, TK, tell us about Court Street.
Well, the 7 days a week here, had a little live music yesterday, their famous Sunday brunch. If you hadn't checked that out, you need to do it. Steak night on Saturday night. The steaks come from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, where we'll be Wednesday, where I'll be Wednesday. But check out Jason and the staff here. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, just a couple of minutes over the Mississippi River Bridge. Court Street Cafe. They've been doing it for a good while. They do it really, really well. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, specials all the time. You name it. Court Street Cafe in Port Allen.
Late this morning for those around this overturned 18-wheeler on the interstate. Baton Rouge has everything kind of jammed up around I-12 in that area. So if you're in the Baton Rouge area, just be prepared. Next few hours, still going to be a lot of traffic on the interstate. All right, for Tommy Craig, grand special thanks to LeBear's Casino. Back on for Sports Shorts. On vote, make sure you vote. Do your go vote, or what they say. You're not going to. You got to stay quiet. Can't. We'll see you on Wednesday. Good one.